I was about 13 when this movie came out, and some people were saying to me that, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch it because it's a bit too inappropriate for you. I'd seen American Pie, so was there anything in this movie that would actually surprise me? Turns out there was. Superbad. This movie is about Seth and Evan, two socially awkward best friends who are about to graduate high school and go off to separate colleges. They decide before they graduate, they want to lose their virginity. And it's lucky for them that they get asked to go to this big party. They find out a friend of theirs, Fogel, has got a fake ID which is going to be able to get them alcohol for this party. The three guys go off to try and get this alcohol. And on their journey to find this alcohol and go to the party, a lot of shit happens. Like I said before, I wanted to watch this movie not long after it came out, and I was still a young guy, and I got told this movie was a bit inappropriate. But I had seen American Pie, so I kind of had an idea of what the movie would be like, and I thought, stuff I've seen American Pie, I'll probably just, it's what I'm going to see again, so it won't be too bad. But I was really surprised. This movie is actually quite different to American Pie, and I loved it. I was pissing myself watching this, and it's probably become one of my favourite comedy movies of all time. Now, I don't want to spoil this movie for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, so I'm just going to briefly explain why I think this is a bit different from American Pie. So the premise of the movies are pretty much the same. Group of guys, they want to lose their virginity before they graduate, and they find out there's this big party where they can do that. One of the big differences I saw in this compared to American Pie was a lot more tame than this movie. This movie had a lot more swearing, was a bit more inappropriate than what American Pie was. American Pie had those scenes that would just made you laugh, and it was just so inappropriate. I think there was a few more of those moments in this movie. It actually surprised me how much they were getting away with. So many jokes I saw, I was like, are they really allowed to say that? Turns out they are. Now, I made it sound like an inappropriate movie is something I don't want to watch. I don't care if it's inappropriate, I will watch it. It'll probably just make me laugh more, and that's what I want. Something that I really liked about this movie was that I didn't know what was going to happen. It was so unpredictable. So many jokes happened, I did not see it coming, and then they were some of those moments where I just laughed the hardest I ever did in that movie. There was a couple of times where I thought, yeah, I can see what's going to happen, and then something completely different happens. And I probably laughed harder at that than I would have laughed at what I predicted was going to happen. So like I said before, the two main stars of this movie are Jonah Hill as Seth and Michael Cera as Evan. Both of these guys have amazing chemistry in this movie. They really seem like best friends. And they have this separation issue. They don't like to really be apart. They like to do everything together. So this whole going off to different colleges thing is really freaking them out. Seth and Evan are two quite different guys. They're both socially awkward. Seth is a very loud, foul-mouthed kind of guy. Not that I found that to be a bad thing. Seth was my favourite character in the movie. Evan, on the other hand, is probably the most likeable guy in the movie. He's not too extreme like Seth is, and he's not weird like Fogel. He's like in between those two guys. He's this normal guy who's just a bit shy, but you like him. And then you have McLovin. Fogel. Sorry, so many times I forget what his name is. All I can think of is McLovin. And if you don't get what McLovin is, you have to watch the movie and you will remember McLovin. Fogel is played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Sorry if I got your name wrong. He's definitely the most dorky guy out of the three. He thinks he can get away with this fake ID he gets, but there are some issues with this fake ID which might just get him in a little bit of trouble. The main girl in this movie is Jules, who's played by Emma Stone. Now when this movie came out, Emma Stone I really didn't know much about. I think this might have been one of her first movies, I'm not too sure. But I really liked her performance in it. She played, like I said, Jules, who was a very smart young girl. Looks like she was a quite popular student at school. And Seth definitely has the hots for Jules. Jules is the girl who invites Seth and Evan to this party. Once she found out that they could get booze for the party, she really wanted them to come. And the other main guys in this movie are two police officers named Officer Michaels and Officer Slater. Officer Michaels is played by Seth Rogen, Officer Slater is played by Bill Hader. Now these two cops, they just want to have a good time. That's what I'm going to say about them. So if I was going to talk about the pros and cons of this movie, I would say some of the pros would be, so there's some really great acting in this movie. Like I said before, this movie is absolutely hilarious. So that's another bonus. I laughed so much in this movie, probably more than I should have. I probably laughed more because I'm a bit immature, and this movie is immature. I don't regret loving as hard as I did. Like I was saying about Seth and Evan, those two have great chemistry, which I love. I love it when two of the main characters have excellent chemistry, and it doesn't even seem like they're acting. They seem like they're best friends. And the other pro being what I said, that you just don't know what's going to happen in this movie. It's really unpredictable. Now, one thing about this movie, I have said a few times that this movie is inappropriate, but it's not completely inappropriate. There are some really good scenes in this movie, more emotional scenes, where it's more about just people talking normal to each other, and the acting in those scenes are really good. It's the way to make a good comedy movie. You can't make a good comedy movie with just full-on hilarity. I've seen it in some movies, but it doesn't work. You don't like the movie as much as those ones that have those real deeper scenes. And this movie has that, and that's a good thing. Now, if I was going to say what I didn't like about this movie, there's only a couple things, not too big, but they're still there. One of those things being, there's a lot of swearing in this movie. Now, I don't mind swearing in a movie. It's perfectly normal. But Superbad, one of its issues, it does have a lot of swearing. I can't remember the amount of uses of the word fuck, but there were a lot. I reckon probably about half of those uses were by Jonah Hill. Like I said, swearing's not bad. I felt like every single line in that movie had the F word in there. Didn't stop me from liking the movie though, I loved it. But I could see how some people watching the movie would not like all the swearing that there is. And the other bit about this movie that I didn't really like, it's not an issue with the movie itself, it's more of, there's a few really awkward scenes in this movie. There's a few times where I was just like, that really just happened. But it's not that I didn't like those scenes, it was just, it made me feel so awkward watching them. But if you have a comedy movie like this, about a couple of young guys trying to lose their virginity, you're gonna get a couple of awkward scenes. It's just what's gonna happen. You have to expect it. All in all, I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. It's definitely one of the funniest movies that I've seen. I'm only taking a half off just because there was a lot of swearing in it, which I don't think was necessary. Some swearing's alright, it's just not over the top. But this movie was a really good movie. I totally recommend it to anyone. Of course though, there are some kind of weird things in this movie, so definitely stick to the ratings of this movie. I was 13 or 14 when I watched this movie. I understood a lot of it at that point, but any younger than that, yeah, don't watch this movie. Not yet, anyway. So any of you who have seen Superbad, what do you think of it? What was your favourite moment in this movie? Comment below and let me know. And of course, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.